Welcome back to another episode. Today, we're still dealing with all those tomatoes. So we are going to be canning tomatoes into diced tomatoes. I couldn't think. Petite diced tomatoes. This is one of the simplest canning recipes around. So if you have an overabundance of tomatoes, a great way to use them is this way right here. You control what's put in there, and it does taste better in the cans at the store, even though they're pretty affordable. But if you've already got a ton of them, this is a great way to use them. Let's dive in. You have to cut an X into the non-cooked tomatoes, and then you'll put them into boiling water for about usually 15 to 30 seconds. You don't want to cook them too long, but long enough for that skin to peel off. You'll know when it's long enough because you'll see the skin peel backwards. And then it's time to take it out and instantly submerge it into an ice bath. That way the cooking stops. We've got our whole big bowl here of our blanched tomatoes. Now we have to dice them. So you're going to want to take your tomato, cut them in half, and then core them. So that's really... your core is really this top piece. Guess I kind of have a little bit more core in this one. Then this one had a bad piece in there, so we're going to cut that piece out as well. You don't want to can up nasty pieces of tomato. And when you're dealing with canning tomatoes, they are always going to be a little bit rougher as far as appearance goes. That's just why they're canning tomatoes. They're going to have their blemishes. That's a piece of... I like my tomatoes relatively petite. So I gotta go through all of these. They go into their jars. I still have 2 whole boxes. I have a whole bushel's worth of tomatoes to do. We are going to make some more salsa, a milder version than what we currently have. And who knows, maybe spaghetti sauce. I don't do the spaghetti sauce as often because you really have to boil that down, which means you lose a lot of tomato. You just don't get as much out of the tomato sauce. It tastes amazing, but you just don't get much. So for me, it's kind of a pain when I can do as many jars of salsa or tomatoes, and then if I go that route, I can't do much. So I tend to do this instead. This is one of the easiest recipes though. If you've never canned before and you really want to dive into it and learn how, this is probably one of the easiest ones to start with. Easy to do. It's kind of the beginner's canning. Beginner's canning, and great way to start. This is a dying art that luckily is starting to come back more. I'm starting to see more and more people doing it again. And I'm very happy to see more people doing it again. I hate to see this art die. I like the not being fully dependent on the grocery stores. With COVID, it kind of taught us that at any given moment, our main food supply can basically disappear. So I like knowing that I have the ability to stock myself with food, and I didn't cut that down the center, so this is actually all good. Instead of relying on grocery chains to supply my food. we try to utilize as much as we can to really be semi-self-sufficient. Okay, so we are at the next step. They're all diced up. Now you're gonna put them into your jars.
We haven't done walk. Mom?
What?
We didn't do walk yet.
I know. And you're gonna put them into the jar and leave like a ½ an inch of headspace again. You always want to leave that little bit of headspace so that way you don't have any issues. Essentially, that's what it comes down to. The expanding, well, pressurizing, you don't want it to erupt. Crack the jar. Full tomatoes, you're going to add in basically a tablespoon of lemon juice. That one's gonna get a little bit more because it's a bigger one. Meant to get the air bubbles out of the jar. So you'd go along the sides kind of and just press down and it'll help get the air bubbles out because you don't want the air bubbles in there. So by doing that, it'll free up the space, it'll get the air bubbles out. But I almost forgot that step. So our tomatoes are done. First step first, to check to make sure these seals are good, you're going to check up here, press down. Make sure there's no give, make sure there's no popping sound. Then, that's my finger tapping it. If you're not getting those the popping sound or the give, then it should be sealed. Take the ring off. You don't want the ring on it. You don't want to store it with the ring because too much pressure on this seal here could cause it to pop prematurely. Premature popping is a bad thing. So, once that ring is off and you've double checked to make sure this isn't popping, you're just going to basically take and lift lightly on the cap. Not lightly, but a little bit of a pull. Not too much to where you pop that seal, but you want to check to make sure there's no break in the seal. It doesn't pop off. And if it doesn't pop off, then it is sealed. At that point, you're going to get a permanent marker, write the date, write what it is on the lid, and that's okay because this is a one-time use lid. So the fact that you wrote on it, no big deal. And then you've got basically, typically you want to use it in a year. If you don't use it within a year, it's still probably good. Use your better judgment, but year is usually your goal. So this is all ready to get stored away so we can use it on a rainy day or in the middle of winter when we don't have farm fresh grown fruits and veggies. Hope you guys stay positive, love each other, and have a wonderful day. Catch you on the next one.